Now we're going to move on to chapter 10, Team Like McKinsey, and this is understanding work teams. Why are teams growing in popularity? Let's think about that. Some key concepts we'll go over today are why McKinsey? Why are teams popular? What is a team? What different types of teams are there? How can we make teams more effective? Identify characteristics. What conditions or context factors determine whether teams are effective? How can we make sure that teams have the right composition? What are the roles that can be played by team members? What are the processes to making sure teams function effectively? When is work performed by teams preferred over work performed by individuals? So why are teams growing in popularity? Teams offer a better way to use employee talents. There's social identity theory that it's motivating. They're more flexible and responsive to changing events. You can quickly assemble, deploy, refocus, and disband teams, and it facilitates participation in operating decisions. Differences between work groups and teams. A work group is a group that interacts primarily to share information and make decisions to help each group member perform within his or her area of responsibility. A work team is a group whose individual efforts result in performance that is greater than the sum of the individual inputs. It's positive synergy through coordinated efforts. So work groups share information. They're neutral, sometimes negative. They're individual or random and varied. Whereas work teams are collective performance. They have positive synergy. They have individual and mutual accountability, and there's complementary skills. Groups and teams are not the same thing. Exhibit 10.1 shows that a work group interacts primarily to share information and make decisions to help members perform within his or her area of responsibility. In contrast, a work team generates positive synergy through coordinated effort. Individual efforts result in a level of performance that is greater than the sum of those individual inputs. Teams are only as good as their weakest link. There are different types of teams. There's problem solving, self-managed teams, and cross-functional teams, as well as virtual teams. Problem solving teams. These are groups of 5 to 12 employees from the same department who meet for a few hours each week to discuss ways of improving quality, efficiency, and the work environment. Self-managed work teams. These are groups of 10 to 15 people who take on responsibilities of their former supervisors. Cross-functional teams. Employees from about the same hierarchical level, but from different work areas who come together to accomplish a task. So an example of this is in the office, there's accounting, the warehouse, sales, secretary, HR, and they're all selling paper. Reasons why cross-functional teams are not simple to manage. Power shifts occur as different expertise is needed because the members are at roughly the same level in the organization, which creates leadership ambiguity. The early stages of development are often long since members need to learn to work with higher levels of diversity and complexity. It takes time to build trust and teamwork, especially among people with different experiences and perspectives. Virtual teams. These are teams that use computer technology to tie together physically dispersed members in order to achieve a common goal. It's more common with people working remotely now. So for an example, my brother's company has a bunch of people doing sales in different parts of the world, and they meet and discuss. For virtual teams to be effective, management should ensure that trust is established among members, progress is monitored closely, efforts and products of the team are publicized through the organization. Multi-team systems are a collection of 2 or more interdependent teams that share a superordinate goal, a team of teams. So for example, in NASA, there's sending a team to Mars. Creating effective teams, characteristics. This is a team effectiveness model. There's 3 general characteristics: context, composition, and process that all lead to team effectiveness. Context might be adequate resources, leadership and structure, climate of trust, and performance evaluation reward systems. Composition is the ability of members, personality, allocating roles, diversity, size of teams, member flexibility, and member preference. Work design. This is autonomy, skill, variety, task identity, and task significance. And lastly, process. This is the common purpose, specific goals, team efficacy, conflict levels, and social loafing. However, this model generalizes across all types of teams despite differences in form and structure and assumes that teamwork is preferable to individual work. What factors determine whether teams are successful? Context. Context is a situation a team faces focused on the following factors. Adequate resources. These rely on resources outside the group to sustain it, and scarcity reduces ability of the teams to perform. Leadership and structure can't function if they can't agree on who does what and ensures all members share the workload. Climate of trust. They need to trust each other and exhibit trust in their leaders. They're more willing to take risks and commit to leaders' goals and decisions when they do. And performance evaluations and rewards. Individual performance evaluations and incentives may not be consistent with development of high-performance teams. Recognize individual members for their exceptional contributions and reward the entire group for positive outcomes. One thing to notice is that if you don't have this in a group, make sure training is provided. For team composition, there are many different team member roles. Composition speaks to the individuals comprising the team and how it should be staffed, including the ability of members, personality, allocating roles, diversity, size of teams, and member preferences. Please take a moment and look at this. This goes over the different roles that you might see within the team. You can see there's the advisor who encourages the search for more information. Another might be the organizer who provides, or the controller who examines details. Make sure you understand the different roles you might see in a team. Abilities of members. Part of a team's performance depends on the knowledge, skills, and abilities of its individual members. Research reveals that when the task entails considerable thought, such as solving a complex problem like re-engineering an assembly line, high-ability teams composed of mostly intelligent members do better than low-ability teams, especially when the workload is distributed evenly. The ability of the team's leaders also matters. Smart team leaders help less intelligent team members when they struggle with the task, but a less intelligent leader can neutralize the effect of a high-ability team. Again, to help improve this, you can always do training. Personality. This goes back to the OCEAN acronym we went over before. Many of the dimensions identified in the Big Five personality model have shown to be relevant to team effectiveness. Teams that rate higher on means of conscientiousness and openness to experience tend to perform better, and the minimum level of team member agreeableness also matters. Teams did worse when they had one or more highly disagreeable members. And here's a close-up of the team roles and the different task roles, social roles, and boundary spanning that you might see. Diversity of members. Organizational demography is the degree to which members of a work unit share a common demographic attribute such as age, sex, race, educational level, or length of service in an organization, and the impact of this attribute on turnover. Many of us hold the optimistic view that diversity should be a good thing. Diverse teams should benefit from differing perspectives and do better. Diversity in function and expertise are positively related to group performance, but these effects are quite small and depend on the situation. Proper leadership can improve the performance of diverse teams. When leaders provide an inspirational common goal for members with varying types of education and knowledge, teams are very creative. Cultural diversity does seem to be an asset for tasks that call for a variety of viewpoints, but culturally heterogeneous teams have more difficulty learning to work with each other and solving problems. The good news is that these difficulties seem to dissipate with time. Size, keep it small. When it comes to the size of teams, most experts agree that keeping teams small is a key to improving group effectiveness. In general, the most effective teams have 5 to 9 members. When teams have excess members, cohesiveness and mutual accountability decline. Social loafing might increase and more people communicate less. Member preferences. Not every employee is a team player. Given the option, many employees will select themselves out of team participation. High-performing teams are likely to be composed of people who prefer working as part of a group. The McKinsey way, hiring the right people. Consider both demonstrated and potential ability. This is why McKinsey recruits from the top schools. Appreciate the value of diversity and apply structure to recruiting efforts. Process. Team processes. So this is common plan and purpose, specific goals, team efficacy, team identity, team cohesion, mental models, conflict levels, and social loafing. Let's talk about these a little more. Common plan and purpose. Effective teams begin by analyzing the team's mission, developing goals to achieve that mission, and creating strategies for achieving the goals. Teams that establish a clear sense of what needs to be done and how consistently they perform better. Effective teams show reflexivity, meaning they reflect on and adjust their master plan when necessary. Specific goals. These are our SMART goals. Successful teams translate their common purpose into specific, measurable, and realistic performance goals. Specific goals energize the team, facilitate clear communication, and help teams maintain their focus on results. Team goals should be challenging. Team efficacy. This is the team's collective belief among team members that they can succeed at their tasks. Management can increase team efficacy by helping the team to achieve small successes and skill training. Small successes build team confidence. The greater the abilities of team members, the greater the likelihood that the team will develop confidence and the capability to deliver that confidence. Team identity. This is team members' affinity for and sense of belongingness to his or her team. When you connect emotionally with the groups they're in, they are more likely to invest in the relationship with those groups. If they feel they're included and respected by the team, they're more likely to work hard. And organizational identity is important too. Rarely do teams operate in a vacuum. Team cohesion. This is a situation when team members are emotionally attached to one another and motivated toward the team because of their attachment. Members are emotionally attached to one another and they're motivated because of their attachment. It's a useful tool to predict team outcomes. Research in China indicated that if team cohesion is high and tasks are complex, their costly investments in promotions, rewards, and training yield greater profitability and team creativity. If low cohesion in simple tasks, they're not likely to respond to incentives for greater creativity. If cohesion is harmed, performance may be too. Mental models. These are team members' knowledge and beliefs about how the work gets done by the team. If team members have the wrong mental models, which is particularly likely with teams under acute stress, their performance suffers. If team members have different ideas about how to do things, the team will fight over how to do things rather than focus on what needs to be done. Conflict levels. Conflict on a team isn't necessarily bad. There's relationship conflict, those based on interpersonal incompatibility, tension, and animosity toward others. They're almost always dysfunctional. When teams are performing non-routine activities, disagreements about task content, called task conflicts, stimulate discussion, promote critical assessment of problems and options, but can lead to better team decisions. Both too much and too little disagreement about how a team should initially perform a creative task can inhibit performance. And social loafing. This occurs when individuals hide inside a group. Effective teams undermine this tendency by making members individually and jointly accountable for the team's purpose, goals, and approach. Members should be clear on what they're individually and jointly responsible for. The McKinsey way, team focus. Talk, evaluate, assist, and motivate. Frame, organize, collect, understand, and synthesize. This is the team focus model. And this is a little video about working at McKinsey.
I think for me, the marketing and sales practice is just one big family. And I remember when I joined, I was very anxious. I joined the London office where there's like over 1,000 consultants. And the marketing and sales practice was really my home from day one. So I had people coming and just presented themselves. So that was just a really warm welcome from the start.
I do play in the McKinsey marketing and sales band. And there are also like other colleagues that are really, really cool, experienced rock musicians. And from time to time, we rehearse and we play together at big events.
I can choose who I work with to a large extent. The group of partners that I work with, the group of team members that I work with, I can form my own teams and I can, the teams change a bit, but there's also a lot of continuity there.
I'm actually a part of a smaller group within marketing and sales. So it's a consumer insights working group. So we are a very tight-knit community across different offices within Europe. But just because I'm part of a smaller working group, that's not to say that I don't feel extremely connected to marketing and sales as a whole. Luckily, we have a lot of networking events and community building events, both at the local, regional, and sort of the whole Europe-wide level. So I've gotten to meet lots of people within the practice in different service lines, some of whom I've worked with, some of whom I haven't. But what's great about that is that you always find ways to reconnect with people and to make friends throughout the network.
We were 4-people team involved in Sweden for a telecom company. It was very difficult because of the client situation. However, I really enjoy my team because they fully trusted me. They empower me to do whatever I think is right for the project. And also they cared about my feelings as a person. And that makes me feel like part of a family. So basically, when you join McKinsey, you will meet a lot of different people who join at the same time. And then somehow you form this very strong bond because you pretty much go through the same thing together. And then that group of family, even though you might be an analyst, you might be an associate, or you might be even a partner, but you still help each other out.
We had an expert as an EM, and it was me as implementation coach. And we had as well people from digital, from advanced analytics. So it was quite a mixed up team. People respected each other and people listened to each other. So it was not us and them, it was always we. And we wanted to generate the best impact for the client. So we were all in the same boat, heading towards the same target. So this is what really made the collaboration within the team a great experience.
So that's a little bit about how McKinsey & Company makes good team efforts. Remember that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Focus on teaching how to listen. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Verbal and nonverbal communication and extensive use of MBTI tests. Over-communication is better than under-communication. How to create team players. Select and hire team players. Train to create team players and reward and incentivize them to be a good team player. So in McKinsey, they do time bonding. They spend time together, but not too much. Reward them well and evaluate them regularly. They also provide useful feedback that's objective, based on expectations set in advance, and only based on elements within the individual's control. When to use individuals instead of teams. Beware, teams are not always the answer. Teamwork takes more time and often more resources than individual work. Teams have increased communication demands, conflicts to manage, and meetings to run. Consider, can the work be done better by one person? A good indicator is the complexity of the work and the need for different perspectives. Does the work create a common goal or purpose? Many service departments of new vehicle dealers have introduced teams that link customer service people, mechanics, parts specialists, and sales representatives. Such teams can better manage collective responsibility for ensuring customer needs are properly met. Are the members of the group interdependent? Using teams makes sense when there's interdependence between tasks. The success of the whole depends on the success of each one, and the success of each one depends on the success of others. Soccer, for instance, is an obvious team sport. Success requires a great deal of coordination between interdependent players. Conversely, except possibly for relays, swim teams are not really teams. Rather, they are groups of individuals performing individually whose total performance is the aggregate summation of their individual performances. And that's the end of chapter 10. Thank you.